Welcome to the Be That Healing Girl podcast. And y'all, I am so excited for this particular episode. And first and foremost, it's because we're talking about, am I right or am I triggered? And if you're like me, this question has come up for you on more than one occasion. And when I say that statement, am I triggered or am I right? I want you to feel into or look back at when you've ever felt really confused around, is this just my trigger or am I right? And you really can't tell between your trigger or is there something valid? And you might be in this dance of going back and forth between one or the other. Is it my trigger, my anxiety, or is it something really valid that I need to bring up in the relationship? So super excited that we're diving into that topic. And if you are new here, my name is Clare. I'm a relationship coach and I love helping high performing, high achieving girlies who are, maybe you're a career ladder climber, maybe you have a huge book of business, you're climbing towards a C-suite, that direction, or maybe you have a successful business or multiple businesses under your belt. Or maybe you're the academic type. Maybe you have some letters behind your name, doctor, lawyer, and you've really excelled in that area. And what I have found is that high performers, high achievers who in the material realm, the material world, but on paper, you are slaying, you're killing it. And at the same time, it's like a dark, dirty secret that you might be feeling really anxious in a good relationship. So if that is you, you are in the right circle, sweetheart. I have got your back. Really excited that you're here. And if you're enjoying this episode or any other episode, leaving a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. If you're feeling really sparkly, and leaving a written review on Apple, that's super awesome, super dope, means so much. It helps me keep going with this because I'm just talking to a camera. It's just you, me, and the microphone. And so I'm excited about this topic. Am I triggered or am I right? But also, if you're watching on YouTube, look at this. Look at this. Like, what a huge up level. I'm really excited that if you can tell, I'm in a new space. Say what? And it's really exciting for a couple of different reasons, and it really ties into what we're going to talk about today. So if you're aware of this and you're watching on YouTube or you're seeing this on Instagram or wherever, Craig and I have landed back in Denver. And what is really exciting about that is this is where we met. This is where we got engaged, where we fell in love. And we're back and landed from 3 years. I cannot believe I'm saying that, but 3 years in the exploring and digital nomad kind of space. So we are back in the place, our property, and it's really, really exciting. And there's a couple things that I think I want to share because if you can imagine, if you've ever moved, it is highly freaking stressful. It is what I would call trigger city, okay? And a few things that I've really have leaned into and have helped me in the past. We've been kind of getting adjusted in the past couple weeks. A couple things, really things that I have noticed have helped me get more acclimated back into this lifestyle. And so first of all, if you've never been in Denver, it is dry as heck. Super, super dry. So one thing that has been really helping me, and we were in San Diego all winter for a couple months, so very drastic climate. But what has helped me to, believe it or not, like help with my overall triggers, because this is something that I've talked about in the Healing Girl Gang, in the training that's coming up for next week, which would be this 3rd week of April, is taking care of your triggers takes planning and being proactive. And these are just little things that I've noticed that overall have helped my triggers. And I know they seem small, and I can drop links to stuff below, but really what I've noticed and I really believe in is being proactive with your processes, being proactive with your plan really helps you to seriously feel less triggered. That's just how I operate and what I've seen work for me. First of all, moisturizer and dry ass Denver and sunscreen, super important. And I have really, even the other day I was walking back from the gym and I was like, oh man, I think I need some more sunscreen. I think I need to reapply. So I've got some cool face cream when I was in Japan and the Philippines this past summer, which was really helpful and impactful. The second thing that I have been loving is that's been helping me with my decision fatigue, because that can definitely, if you're making high level decisions all day, whether for a business or for your career, you get decision fatigue. So something that's helped me is literally, I'm wearing this sweater right now from American Eagle. I love not making decisions and wasting brain space on things that should be really simple. So literally, I have been living in this sweater. It's been super helpful and super powerful for me to not make decisions. It's super cozy. Maybe I'll link it below. And thirdly, is I have these beeswax candles that have been helping me to feel more calm. I mean, literally, just lighting a candle really helps with my overall anxiety and self care. Fun fact is, I should have lit it and had it next to me, but um, I like to use organic beeswax candles, and I just looked at the Etsy shop where I buy them, and they're closed, like they're no longer there. So I'll make sure to get you some really good recommendations for that. Also, I'm going to be pulling a little Meghan Markle, and I'm going to be attempting to make my own beeswax candles with some essential oils. And I don't know how that's going to go, but I will let you know. And Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, move over. So, a couple things that I've been really enjoying that seriously, they seem so small, and they are small things, but they all actually add up into how I've been feeling and dealing with the stress of literally changing a lifestyle to a different one that I've been living for the past 3 years. So, that being said, let's talk about it. Are you triggered or are you right? And I want to just dive into why I think this is so important. And I've been talking about this in depth in my training in the Healing Girl Gang, but triggers, this is the thing that most of us get wrong. And I used to get this wrong all the time. I had to learn the hard way. So I'm making this easy for you. But triggers don't just go away. They do not just go away in the moment. And this is a common thing that I think, and I not even I think, I know is what's happening for most of you, okay? You have the trigger, maybe you even have the fight, and you're either white knuckling it for it to go away, or you have the little disagreement, or maybe it gets to the point where they pull back and you reconnect and it seems like, oh, we're better. No more problem. And that's the mistake. That is like the mistake that I see so often, that after the charge dies down, if there's not really any repair between the couple, and more importantly, quite honestly, it starts with this repair within yourself that can make or break really just how you are exiting or changing that cycle of that anxious trigger. So it is a common misunderstanding that triggers just go away because you didn't talk about it. No, they're just dormant. All right. I'll say that again. Triggers don't just go away. They don't just poof, disappear. A lot of times the thought, and I used to think this a lot, oh, everything's okay. We stopped fighting. The fight's over. No, it's not. No, it's not. Like, you may not be in the actual disagreement in the moment, but the trigger is just dormant. And that's why for me, it felt like every Monday or every other Monday. It was like a weekly, bi-weekly, and if we were quote unquote really good about it, which I actually, looking back, I wasn't really good about it. I just was pretending for a whole month until it blew up. It's just dormant. You're just kind of sweeping things under the rug until you actually really look at the cycle of your triggers. Okay. So that's a common misunderstanding that I think is really kind of important for you to understand, to look at, to be aware of before we really dive into, am I triggered or am I right? Okay. That's really important. I just have to say that. They don't just go away. They don't just magically disappear. They're just dormant. So let's talk about, am I triggered or am I right? Gosh, what a fun topic. And a couple of things that I want you to take a step back, zoom out, and really look at. All right. So the first thing, when somebody is in that place, when you're in that place of, am I triggered? Is this just my anxiety or am I actually right? This is what I used to do. I would go around to my girlfriends, and this is like when my anxious attachment was like full on. It was full on, extreme. I would go around to my girlfriends, I'd go around to my family, I would look it up online, and it's what I call collecting your journey, right? Where I would see, be seeking and looking for other things to make my assumption or make that feeling right. This is called confirmation bias, okay? Confirmation bias. And when I say that, confirmation bias is when we interpret information to confirm a belief. And if you don't know, belief systems are very tricky. They're multi-layered, they're multidimensional, and they are dimensional. Uh, Also, just a refresher, if you didn't know this, I don't edit my podcast intentionally because it's better to take the action imperfectly than to get it right. So just FYI. But when we have confirmation bias, we're confirming this subconscious belief, right? If you believe that people leave you, aka the abandonment issue, abandonment wound, then you will find people that leave you. You will unintentionally, subconsciously recreate this belief system. And when we are in that act of creating a confirmation bias, we get information that might be flawed. So you're talking to your friend, and maybe she's got some abandonment issues too, and like y'all are jiving on that, and she is, yeah. She's kind of maybe egging you on, not because she's a bad person, because that's kind of, you guys have similarities. So you're getting flawed information or information that isn't complete, right? So let's say we talk to a family member that has a different lived experience from you. When I say that, maybe their wounds, maybe they don't have a mommy wound or a daddy wound or a father wound or a mama wound, and they see or perceiving your situation differently. That is incomplete, right? So we're going to sources that maybe are flawed, they have their own stuff going on, or it's incomplete, and we are seeing, see, so and so has a similar experience. Confirmation bias, that's what it is. See, my family member has this experience, they're telling me this. Confirmation bias, right? So when we are in this space of indecision, am I triggered, am I right, we typically, most times, we're going for that confirmation bias. That's just kind of what we do. Okay, first thing. So in this, am I triggered, am I right, are you seeking confirmation bias? Where are you looking for that information? Because one powerful statement that's really helped me to sift through information is look at the source. Who is this person? Who is telling you this? Is the information flawed? Is the information incomplete? Okay. Second thing, when we're in that realm of am I triggered or am I right, is reasoning. Okay. So there is, our reasoning can be a little problematic. All right. And a lot of times when we're in that space, first of all, if you're triggered, you are likely, me personally, and this is an anecdote, and also just from what I see from my clients, it is very rare that in that space of triggered or right, triggered inherently means that your system, your nervous system, your emotional system, your intellectual system is like in high alert. All right. And so a lot of times our reasoning ability, our emotional reasoning, our cognitive reasoning, we oftentimes in that space will have a strong feeling. And I love you so, so much, but a strong feeling does not mean it's true. I can like this queso from our favorite spot around the corner, and it doesn't mean it's the best in Denver. I mean, I say that with so much love. Just because we have a strong feeling or strong affinity doesn't necessarily mean it's true. A simple way to understand that is feelings aren't facts. And there's so much more depth to that saying, but they're not. Feelings are temporary. They're like a roller coaster. They come in, they come out. There's an ebb and flow. And it doesn't necessarily mean, a strong feeling doesn't necessarily mean something is true. But ask anybody who's feeling something strongly, they will testify that it's true, okay? And I love you so much. just because we are convicted in something doesn't mean it's correct. And I will also say conviction can really make us feel like we're correct, like our stance is the right stance. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So, last piece here that I think is really important to consider if you're looking at am I triggered or am I right is this whole cognitive and emotional rigidity. And when I say that, when we are in this space, so we all have a certain baseline. And through many different factors, if that baseline is very narrow. So when I say that, little things set you off. Like another person might say, "Oh, that's fine." Like, "Oh, he cannot text me for hours." And like, "We're what? Cool." In fact, that's I don't really you should seeing Craig's and I's text during the day are just they're very funny. It's just a bunch of K's and dinner in 10. Like it's not really in depth at all. And that is not just because of, I guarantee some of you out there are thinking, oh, it's because you're married. No, that's not really what's happening. We have definitely have worked towards an earned, secure relationship. But what we're really looking at is how flexible are you with your cognitive and emotional state. And so when we are in a very narrow state, small things will really set you off. And I will tell you, in the beginning, that would have taken me for a loop, not hearing back after a few hours at the end of the day. Did you get back from the flight okay? Did you land? Like that would have sent me in a tizzy, total tizzy. And when I say earned secure, so anxious and avoidant attachments are insecure attachments. So when you work towards an earned secure, that rigidity, that narrow space, that you feel like every little thing sets your alarms off, like not hearing from them for a certain amount of time. They say you're watching how they breathe, how they're putting on their pants, and you're just like, oh my gosh, they did that so mad. You put the dishes away so angry. Things like that. All right. That to me is typically an indicator of how rigid your baseline is. And so if we have a rigid baseline for things like that, then we tend to have less rigidity and flexibility are on different sides of the spectrum. But when we have less flexible thinking, when our thinking is really narrow, it takes away from our perspective and nuance. And if you didn't know this, relationships healthy relationships require your ability to see each other's perspective, different perspectives. It also requires nuance. Okay, it requires a lot of nuance. And I say this once, I will say it again, forever and ever, amen, that relationships are multidimensional and multifaceted. They just are. There is no simple way to look at relationship. And when you can embrace that it's so much more than your perspective and this very rigid way of thinking, then you will open yourself up to having healthier, more secure, and feeling more secure in your relationship that has different perspectives. You're able to see their perspective because I guarantee you want them to see your perspective, right? So that requires perspective. We have to be able to look at another person's viewpoint and how they feel and nuance. All right. So one thing that I also know is super important is that in order to work through confirmation bias, to expand your reasoning, to expand your cognitive and emotional rigidity, you need tools. That's just also true because if you are like me, who's had years of therapy, different types of therapy, so many therapies, if you have done all the things, then that doesn't mean that those don't work. You just need the next level. You're graduating. Congratulations. Where you might need what might be happening is your sense of threat is heightened. You want to work on the tools of who you are being. And if you followed me for a long enough time, who you are being when you are facing confirmation bias, when you're facing reasoning, when you're facing cognitive and emotional rigidity, who you are being is everything. and your sense of identity, who you think you are in that moment, who you be is everything. Because once you get that solid and you have the tools, you have a process to understand that, then your sense of threat, that hypersensitivity goes down. You can choose to act and make decisions in a different way based on who you're being and who you're identifying yourself as. And your defense mechanisms, you start to dismantle them because you have an understanding and you have the right tools. You can take the right actions that are aligned for you to actually start to heal that. So that's my little spiel. Look at your confirmation bias, your reasoning, your cognitive and emotional rigidity. And all of those things are some things that we talk about in the Healing Girl Gang. This month is all about the triggers. It's all about emotional triggers or anxious triggers and how you can stop them from ruining a good relationship. So all of that is happening this month. I believe the implementation day when this releases will be tomorrow. So if you're listening this as it's being downloaded, then the training is on Wednesday, which is implementation day. Super excited about that. Okay. So speaking of Healing Girl Gang, one of the things that we do and I do is that we go into the mailbox. And what I love about the mailbox is that this is the opportunity where I get to go into the questions that the girlies in the Healing Girl Gang get to ask, which is super exciting. All right, so who I have here is Haley. Haley, okay, let's dive into it. So her question from the Healing Girl Gang is, I'm currently casually dating somebody and in theory am happy to have it remain casual. I love that. I love that. Already something I can coach you on. However, my anxiety and my brain are not in alignment because I know my goals and my capacity at the moment. I'm working on starting a new business and do not want to be in anything serious that will take my time and energy away from that. I still have such anxious responses to his casualness, and it makes me feel crazy. Like intellectually, I know one thing, but I still react with anxiety over somehow not being chosen or prioritized, and I wish I could move away from that, especially when the other parts of my life are so good and I have so much confidence in them. Is this more general anxiety that is spilling over into my romantic life? I also haven't been in a relationship in many years and wonder if this is just the first time in a long time that I'm being confronted with these type of triggers that I've been pretty good at managing alone in relation to someone else. Maybe I am just too rusty. Okay, I love this question. And there's actually a lot here, Haley, and I want to give just a good once over. So again, multi-layered, there's multi-dimensionals. I also love that. I totally relate to wanting to focus on your business. Okay. So I love, you kind of even called yourself out in the first sentence. In theory, I'm happy to have it remain casual. And one thing I know that is so indicative of this whole kind of subconscious piece that is going on is there's conflict here. There's this maybe logical understanding that, yeah, I want it to remain casual. He wants it to remain casual. You even say his casualness, but like that's even what you say you want, right? So he's actually doing that. And it's making you feel crazy. So first of all, you're not crazy. This is a very common thing where our logical mind and our subconscious beliefs are duking it out. Okay, they are wrestling and they are doing mental jujitsu. And what I think is important with that is understanding, number one, that your subconscious thoughts and your subconscious emotions, like respectfully, they're just going to win. And what I'm even seeing here is that there's this push and pull for you, that you even know that you've got a business that you want to explore, that you're opening it. You kind of logically know that you want it to be casual, but then there's this huge piece that wants connection and wants to be in a relationship. And I would say that the first thing that I would recommend is, can you be okay with that conflict? And it is so true that we can want different things. We can want to be a homebody, but also want to connect with your besties. Like, though two things and multiple things can be true at once. And when you say also this kind of interesting piece here is that, is this general anxiety that's spilling over into my romantic life? Probably. Like, I think that is a very apt kind of understanding in this also. When we look at generalized anxiety, your brain and your body actually can't tell the difference between you opening a new business and a bear chasing you. It literally can't. It actually just feels the overwhelm, it feels the fear, and it's going to respond appropriately. And in that, so like if we're thinking about like a cup of water that's getting full and all these things are happening, the natural, most just logical, commonplace that spill goes over is into the very relationship that feels the most vulnerable. That's just, it's like the weakest link. So if our cup runneth over with anxiety and all this pressure and fear, then it's going to have a direct impact on the relationships that feel most intimate to you. And relationships that are just starting, that are fresh, feel really intimate. You're getting to know somebody. You're like, this is like the first time getting undressed with somebody. Like, it feels really vulnerable, right? Are they going to laugh? Are they going to go, ha ha? Or are they going to go, I don't know. I just watched we are rewatching The New Girl. And if you get it, if you know, you know. Jess sees Nick getting undressed and like comes into the room, and she does this like awkward like like laugh and runs away. That's intimacy, right? So if you are feeling this kind of reaction that you don't really want to do, but it's kind of happening, there's like this literal biological thing that's happening as well. You are responding to stress, and it's coming out in your relationship. And the last piece, again, multi-layered, multi-dimensional, I love saying that, is that you haven't been in a relationship in many years. Well, yeah, this is like getting back on a bike. And we had an e-bike that I hadn't ridden a bike, gosh, in a long time before riding that bike. I actually did not tell Craig this, but I was, because I'm, Little Miss Independent, right? And I took the bike, and it was kind of by this busy area in Pacific Beach. And I almost died. I literally almost died because I was going way too fast. And it's been a long time since I had ridden a bike, and it was not good. But I survived, obviously. Thank goodness. Knock on wood. But yeah, it's been many years since you've been engaged into a relationship or been in that dynamic. Yeah, I mean, that has a lot of impact. And I also think it's important too that just because I think a lot of people think, well, I'm single, I've worked it all out, we're good. Yeah, that's it. And I'm not saying that that's bad. Like, we need time. It's good to take time for ourselves, to focus on ourselves, to get some repetitions on our own in building our own skill sets. And the rubber meets the road when you get into a relationship. Like, it's all fun and games when you're like playing solitaire on your own, but solitaire is not Texas Hold'em. You are engaging and dancing a dance with somebody else. So yeah, there's a lot of pieces here. And I would definitely say that there would be some exploration into what are your subconscious beliefs? What are you maybe wrestling with and engaging in your own thought process and your own emotions that you might want to start getting really honest with, getting really, really real with, and your capacity in seeing that two things can be true at once. And when we are looking at those deeper subconscious beliefs, that can be challenging if we don't have the right tools, don't have the right support. But you're in the Healing Girl Gang, so that's a step forward. Okay, y'all, I am so excited. I cannot wait to be doing more podcasts in this fun space. It's definitely profesh. If you haven't checked it out on YouTube, go check it out. And I love you so much. Mwah.